History.
Call BBC Radio Cambridgeshire 08459 25 2000. This is BBC Radio Cambridgeshire.
6 minutes past 8. Now, how can you know how much money you're going to save if you don't know how much money you've got in your pocket? Well, that's the question we're asking of Cambridgeshire's new Police and Crime Commissioner this morning. It's after concerns were raised about how much the new Commissioner was spending on staff and his office. If you go to Tesco's later and you don't know how much you've got in your pocket, how much do you know you've got to spend? It's after concerns were raised about how much the new Commissioner was spending. The Prime Minister said ahead of the elections that new role would save each area about 20% of the budget that was being spent. So that's around £200,000 in Cambridgeshire. But Sir Graham Bright has pledged to save just 5%. Well, earlier, Cambridge-based blogger Richard Taylor told us that's not a particularly noble saving.
I would have expected that £200,000 would be banked as a saving and then for him to go on and make further savings from there. And I think what we've got to remember is that there's just one pot of money here for funding policing, and it's up to Graham Bright as the Commissioner how much he spends appointing his friends, deputy, and how much he spends on his office. And every penny he spends on that kind of thing is not going to frontline policing. Well,
Richard went on to say that if Sir Graham doesn't know how much of the budget has been spent, then how can he appoint a deputy on such a large wage?
Well, he doesn't yet know that he needs this deputy or what he wants him to do, so why is he going to the Police and Crime panel today asking them to approve the appointment? Really, he needs to wait and find out and come up with a decent job description. And why does this office need to be staffed so much more than an MP's office, for example?
And BBC Radio Cambridgeshire has found that many key costings, like the cost of his office in Camborne and the salaries of some of the people he's hoping to employ, haven't yet been worked out. Well, I'm pleased to say Sir Graham Bright, the new Police and Crime Commissioner, is with us this morning. Morning, Graham.
Good morning.
First of all, can we just get back to basics? What did the old police authority cost, and what are you going to cost?
Well, the old police authority cost, and these are round figures, 970,000.
Okay.
And I'm budgeting for it to cost 866. Okay. Now, at the moment, everything is in budget.
Okay, what are you going to spend that money on, Graham?
To publish the budget by the end of January, and that will become public in February.
What are you going to spend the money on, Graham, if you don't mind me asking? You've got your salary, your deputy's salary. You're going to have 2 field officers, is that right?
Well, that's an additional thing. If you look at where we're coming from.
What do you mean?
The public were informed that I wanted to do that all the way through the election.
Okay. Well, what do you mean additional?
It's a new role. You see, you can't compare like with like. The old committee didn't have the same responsibilities that I have got. I have the responsibility to the public.
Graham, can I take you back? Just
the public then can make their decision on me in 3.5 years' time.
One thing at a time, Graham, if you don't mind. So 856,000 you're going to spend. These field officers are on top of that as well, are they?
That's an additional operation, but that is
How much?
That is not like for like. We're talking about 2 different things. We didn't have that before. Neither I shall be funding, giving additional funds to people like Neighbourhood Watch and victim support, because it is a new role and there are new responsibilities on us. And the one thing that we have to do is to take account of what the public are saying. We're guided by the public. I remember saying to you, I hadn't got policies in terms of overall, because I had to listen to the public and then formulate those policies, which is just what we're doing.
But you didn't tell the public you were going to have a deputy. You didn't tell the public you were going to have field officers. You didn't tell the public you were going to have new officers and things like that, did you?
Oh, yes, I did. And that was one of the planks of what I was saying during the election, that I was representing the public, the face of the public. And I didn't believe for one moment that if you were working in the middle of the police headquarters, you could necessarily hold them to account. I'm the face of the public, not the face of the police. That's another different thing that has come about in this new reform. and I wanted to be slightly arm's length from them.
Right, well, you said you were going to listen to the public.
What I'm doing.
You said you were going to listen to the public. Well, just about everybody we've spoke to, ahead of the election, after the election, voters, candidates, everybody said they were going to put more police officers on the streets. That's what people wanted. But the more you spend on deputies, field officers, staff, offices here, there and everywhere, the less officers we can appoint, surely.
Well, you've got to watch what we're up to, and you will do. I know that every minute of the day. I am determined that we're going to keep up the numbers of police. We're not going to take police off the front line. And looking at the overall budget, and I say we can't talk about that in detail because it hasn't been approved yet. But
what are you going to spend this $856,000 on? Can we not spend some of that on police officers?
No, because you need to have an organisation behind you. And I noticed the guy you were talking to before talked about MP's office. This is not like an MP's office. You know, we're doing a much bigger job.
How many people have you got working for you when you've finished, Graham? How many people are going to be under your wing?
Well, in total, about 2,200.
No, in your particular office.
In the office, we're talking about 10 people.
10 people.
Yes, but in that we've got to write the strategy for the police. We've got to control the budget. And one of the reasons that I've brought Brian Ashton on board is because he's got huge commercial experience, as indeed so have I. He's got huge experience in the public arena, and we've got to actually look at every single penny we spend. We've got to try and make it leaner and meaner in order to protect the front line of police.
But you're hardly saving anything, are you? You're hardly cheaper at all than the police authority. We might as well just have the status quo, Graham.
Listen, you could make it even cheaper by not having anyone, and the whole thing would completely go up in the air. We are there to control those expenses. We're there to ensure that we have policemen on the front line. That's what the public elected me for. And in 3.5 years' time, if I haven't done it, I should be chucked out.
Yeah. Is it within your patronage to appoint a deputy? This is public money. Shouldn't that job be advertised?
Every other commissioner has appointed a deputy. I think.
So that makes it right, doesn't it?
One or two have got more than one. We're quite happy with one. And
you've got field officers as well. I mean, how much are they going to earn?
Well, the field officers are doing an entirely different job. And we're looking at that in terms of the overall budget, which you'll find out about in due course.
What are they doing, field officers?
The field officers are doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing. They're out in the community, listening to what people are saying, picking up issues so that they can be dealt with, because we have to deal with those. The old authority didn't do that. They weren't mandated to do that. We are. So we have an entirely different organisation.
Okay, I've asked you a number of times for figures for your spending and to break them down.
Well, I'm not going to tell you that because these haven't all been approved yet, and what's more, some things are still in a negotiating position. And what you don't do, and I'm sure you appreciate that, is display your hand before you've actually signed everything off.
How do you know you're going to save anything then?
Oh, I will. There's no question about that.
How do you know if you don't know your budget?
Well, you know, I've been in business for a very, very long time. I know where I'm going. I know what we have to achieve, and we will achieve it.
Sounds like you've got a crystal ball.
Roast me later on, but I can assure you we will.
But if you don't know what your budget is, how do you know you're going to make a saving? Unless you've got a crystal ball of something.
But I do know what my budget is.
Are you just not prepared to tell us?
That's absolutely right. So you're going to have to wait until the whole thing is published. It'll be totally transparent. It'll all be published, and by the middle of February, the whole thing will be out in the open.
Yeah.
I hope we'll have a discussion then.
Okay. So at the moment, you don't want to communicate that.
Well, I'm not that I don't want to. It's not prudent to.
Right.
If you're putting something together, you don't display your hand before you actually deal it.
Can I just read you something which is symptomatic of some of the comments we've had this morning? £28,000 a year for 2 days a week work. Jobs for the boys. It is really outrageous and disgusting. In 3.5 years from now, we'll be voting you out. That's a comment from Mark Taylor this morning. And a lot of people unhappy at this exorbitant salary for your deputy, Graham.
Well, it's actually 2.5 days, and sure, if they vote us out, they vote us out. But I hope they'll stop and think, now these guys have actually kept the number of police on the streets, which is what it's all about, and we will work within budget. And you don't do that unless you have the right people actually in place doing it. And Brian Ashton is the right person.
Graham, thank you for coming on this morning. That's Graham Bright. He's the new Police and Crime Commissioner. not quite sure we know what it's going to cost yet. He says he knows what it's going to cost. He says he knows he's going to make a saving, and it's all worthwhile. Your thoughts on that this morning? 81333 on text, 08459 25 2000.